Hello and welcome to another episode of People con dos grandes razones, people with pizzazz. A place where we talk about everything there is to know about people, what's trending, what's happening out there, what people don't like to talk about, what they feel uncomfortable to talk about, what they think but they don't talk about, anything that has to do with the area. And we're doing it with the spirit of learning from my experience, what works, what doesn't work, what I truly recommend you to shut up and don't do. And definitely open to suggestions and comments from you. So, I'm Badi Rebolledo, and don't forget to follow me in either Spotify or YouTube, and actually subscribe and click on the little belly thing so it reminds you of every time there's an episode coming out on Thursdays. If not, follow me through Instagram in People con dos grandes razones, people with pizzazz. So ready to go? Well, this time is going to be an interesting one, as usual. Okay, so let's say it as it is. HR loves a good buzzword. We throw around things like alignment, capability, employee experience, engagement, and half the time, nobody really knows what the fuck we're talking about. And we don't know even how to explain it to a business team. So today, I'm going to try and fix that shit. Okay? So I'm breaking it into 12 strategic HR terms, okay? That everyone loves to talk and put on slides, but very few people actually use to drive results. No fluff, no poetry, no pretending this is about people and they're, that people are the greatest assets. No trying to, sell it that way, while at the end of the day, we're ignoring the P&L. We're going to talk about what these things actually mean and why most companies get them wrong, what they're doing wrong, and most importantly, how they should show up if HR is doing its job properly, how we should actually impact the business. Because if it doesn't hit or bring more revenue, avoid risk, costs, or creates efficiency, then it's pretty much just nice decorations and fluff. And that's not what we're here for, is it? So let's get started and see how uncomfortable I can make you guys. Okay, so let's start with the first two. The first term is the HR operating model, and the other one is strategic HR loop. I'm going to try to put them together and explain to you what it is. So these two sound extremely sophisticated, but are actually vamos a empezar de nuevo. Okay, so let's start with two terms that sound extremely sophisticated and are usually completely chaos when it comes to practice. The first one is the HR operating model, and so many times we heard about it. The HR operating model, we have to do it there, and we have to look at it and how it's working, and everyone has one. The problem is, most people just don't know what it is. It sounds cool. It sounds, posh. But it's basically how HR is set up to work. We're talking about who does what and who decides and how things move. The problem is, most HR operating models are built for activity, not for outcomes. So you have a shared service, for example, you have the shared service processing tickets. You have the HRBPs just running like headless chickens all over the garden because they're firefighting. They just are there to stop everything that happens. You have the centers of excellence creating and building frameworks that nobody uses because there's no connection between them. They're not talking to to each other. So nobody owns, at the end of the day, results. They are just doing their own shit in their own silos. So if you pair that to the other term, which is strategic HR loop or strategic people loop, then it becomes really interesting, because the strategic people loop, what it talks about is, this is the idea that the area of people should continuously diagnose, design, deliver, adjust in a loop. It's a constant, a live process. It's not just planning for the year. It's understanding the business as it occurs and the dynamics of it. So it sounds great, really. It sounds pretty cool when we present it this way. But most companies run it once a year. This HR strategy loop, they talk about it once a year, and it becomes the strategy. But as I said before, it's not the strategy that we want to focus on. We want to focus on a continuum of understanding the dynamics of the business. So if you're not constantly adjusting based on the signals and what's happening, then you don't have a loop. You have a fucking calendar of activities. That's all it is. So let me tell you a business case that, something that happened to me once. So sales are dropping. The CEO is having a cow, and HR, people area, is fucking busy. So we have the business partners are, handling employee relation issues on a day-to-day basis. The talent team is running generic hiring processes, and learning and development is pushing leadership or workshops that nobody asked for and nobody's going to. So you see here what the fucking problem is? The HR operating model is completely disconnected from the business priorities. So what did I end up doing? I looking at how nobody was talking to each other, really. So we stepped back, and I took the team and I assigned the HRBPs specifically. I assigned a specific HRBP to the commercial performance. We created a weekly strategic HR loop. So instead of having this annual we sat down, we diagnosed every week, we diagnosed why are sales dropping. Is it low conversion? Is it a poor store execution? Is it a high turnover and therefore a lack of experience in order to push the sale? Then we design, which is we target store manager capability and incentives. We deliver. So what did we do to deliver? We did some coaching for management, or for the leaders, for the store management, and we revised the compensation structure, the mix, to assure that you get what you measure. And we adjusted weekly the sales, and we adjusted weekly the behavior data. As a result, sales started stabilizing in 2 months. So this shows you that when you are actually touching the business, understanding it, hearing it, you become a partner in it. So it wasn't that we needed more HR. It was HR focused on the right problem consistently, and not letting go and just going on your business and what you think your role description is. So if your HR model and your loop don't change how decisions get made faster or better, they're just an expensive org charts. That's all it is. So pay attention, guys. It's gonna get better. Okay, so now the one, the classic that everyone claims, but very few actually do. let's talk about business alignment. This one is abused on a daily basis, the word, the concept. People say HR needs to be aligned to the business. And absolutely, you have to. But aligned to what exactly? This is where it gets really interesting, because if people priorities can't be tied directly to revenue, to growth, to risk or cost, you're not aligned. You're adjacent. You're not even in the car. You're opening the car for everybody to get in. Then comes the second concept, which is workforce planning, which most companies translate as we'll hire when things go to shits. Real workforce planning is not about filling vacancies. It's about predicting what skills, what capacity is needed for the business before it starts hurting, before it is actually needed. And that, my friends, as mentioned before, you need to know what the fuck is going on, Let me tell you another interesting experience here. I worked in a fintech, and they were scaling fucking too fast for my taste. So the company wants to double revenue in the following 12 months. And for that, what they suggest, because everybody has an internal HR, right? We all do. And therefore, they said we needed to hire 200 people within the following month. So my question was, okay, cool. Based on what? Like, what gives you that analysis, and specifically to what positions, etc. So what really was happening is there was no clarity in which roles actually drove revenue. They thought that if we needed to grow, we just needed more people. Hiring based on manager requests. So, because we were going to grow, everybody just immediately said, we want more people because this is going to get huge. So we need more people. And what I wanted to do there, it's everybody, hold their horses. I wanted to have alignment. So first, I identified revenue drivers. What was it that really, moved us toward what we needed, which was sales, product, risk. We mapped the roles, or I asked the team to map the roles directly to the revenue generation. So it's not just add one more because there's more people coming. I needed to know how the roles they thought they needed more of actually impacted revenue. And there were some positions that are organic growth, like, for example, the HR business partners. Once you get a certain population, if you're opening a certain area or region, well, obviously you will need somebody there. So that's organic growth, but that's completely different to what was being asked here as a scaling up, right? So instead of hiring 200 people, I focused it in doing proper workforce planning, which was hire 80 critical roles that we identified. We upskill 50 internal employees, and we automated low value tasks. So we worked together in these 3 items, and as a result, we got lower costs, we got faster hiring, and higher revenue per employee. So here the point is that alignment plus planning can equals a smarter growth and not bigger headcount. So when you're growing and scaling, the answer not necessarily is more people. It's trying to play it smart, be smart about this. So if hiring is reactive, you're already late. We have to understand where we're heading at and what does that imply. And if HR cannot tell what talent we need to hit next year's numbers, then don't talk to me about alignment. That's not alignment. You're just a reactive, supportive area that administers vacancies or trainings. We're much more than that. In the following two, I'm gonna sound really mean, but these two are where HR, people area, loves to feel smart and still miss the fucking point. They seem to be the easiest ones to understand and manage, but they're fucking not. Capability building. Sounds like training, right? Well, wrong. It's not that. It's not about courses and trainings and going and bringing in, the training for trainers or things like that. It's about whether the business can actually do what it needs to do to win. If your strategy requires speed, innovation, or commercial thinking, and your people can't execute that, you don't have a strategy problem. You have a capability problem. Now, if you add to that people analytics, and this is where it gets really funky, because nowadays with the artificial intelligence and with the automation of things, etc., everybody has a fucking dashboard. Everybody wants to have metrics and measure and have data available at a blink of an eye. Nobody has insights. I think HR needs to change a little bit. The area needs to change a little bit the way that we look about the skills that we need to have as a people function, because having the information isn't, or no, and knowing how to execute is not what brings us the value. We don't bring that. That's not the value added that we bring to the table. It's knowing what to do with it, and tracking turnover, engagement, headcount. That is all great, and we have to do it. By all means, we do. But what decision changed based on that information? If we're just reporting, it might as well be a fucking billboard in, New York, Times Square. If your data doesn't influence a decision, it's decoration. And if your capabilities don't match your strategy, you're just hoping that things work out, by a miracle of some sort. I have had in the past the experience of gathering data and being able to bring it forward to the executive team and change completely their mindset, not based on what they liked or they thought, but based on facts. And this is something that we need to understand, especially the executive teams and C-levels and directors. We are not the fucking target. It's the demographics, our populations. They are the target. And they are the ones we need to understand and measure to see what decisions we need to take to make them and help them and reach the objectives through them. But if we don't understand them, their needs, their moments, their capabilities, their gaps, everything, if we do not understand that and we do not understand the business itself, then really we are just gathering information in an era where information is the thing that we all have. If we don't know what to do with it and make actual decisions that impact, then we're a fucking waste of time. That's what we have become if we don't know how to do this. Okay, so now I'm going to start touching some nerves. And people are going to start cringing, probably turn off my podcast now. But I'm going to talk about things that make people uncomfortable because now we're going to talk about structure and people in power. So, organizational design. People think this is the org chart, all the little boxes. Well, it is, but it's not. It's designing how decisions flow, how fast things move, and how accountable and who is accountable for what. Bad organizational design creates confusion, duplication, and really slows the execution. And really, this is where 80% of people problems actually come from. And to this, we're going to add leadership effectiveness. And this is where people are going to start turning off the podcast, because this is a multiplier. You can have the best strategy, you can have the best structure, but if you put in the wrong leaders, it is all going to die quickly and quietly. And leadership effectiveness is not about being liked, being cool, being the super cool leader. No, it's about translating strategy into execution through people. You don't have to be an ass. You don't have to be a micromanager. You don't have to be super cool, super nice. You only have to understand how to manage, motivate, engage, empower, enable people to be able to get to the result. Let me tell you another nice story. Here I am in a tech company, which is or has been showing in the past few months that their product launching is fucking slow. So everybody says that we need better talent, that we don't have the right minds in it. But I don't think so. What I've learned in the past is that when you have a system design problem, it's not that you have bad talent, is that the system does not allow for anything to occur. So you had, or what we had in this case, there were all processes had too many approval layers. Nobody owned the final decision, and leaders avoided accountability. So here we were when things, a product was about to launch or something was about to launch, something went wrong, nobody was responsible, because I signed it, but no, you read it, but then you said yes, but you also signed. So, everybody had, pinpointing to somebody else in order to avoid responsibility. So what we started doing, or what I started doing, was to redesign the organization and taking away layers and having clear ownerships. And by clearing layers, I don't mean getting rid of, let's say you call it, levels 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't get rid of 2 levels. No, what I did is I took away the bureaucracy. I took away the having to have 5 fucking signatures for one single, approval. And it was giving accountability to one person to do that signature, to put their name there on the line and put the fucking face if things went wrong or if things went right. And we also replaced or coached leaders who couldn't execute, who couldn't actually, bite the bullet. And as a result, the product launching periods of time dropped from 9 months to 5, because there were fewer meetings, there were more decisions taking. We were much more efficient when it came to moving forward. Have you ever been into a fucking meeting where you're there for 2 hours, but the actual person that needs to authorize things wasn't even there, but everybody had a really nice waste of time? Well, we avoided that like the plague. So it wasn't that we lacked talent. It was structure and leadership, courage at the end of the day. And this translates to, or you can see it in your business, if your organization is slow and your leaders are not clear about their scope of decision or responsibility, then nothing else you do will matter, because everything will get stuck in this, nebula of nobody knows and who's responsible for what. So clear that out. Believe me, I'm living it right now, and it's extremely painful and discouraging and frustrating to see how much everybody wants power, to have the signature there, but nobody wants the accountability of it. Everybody has a fucking opinion on it, but nobody's actually willing to bite the bullet and take the whole responsibility. Getting to the end. Hold on, we're nearly there. Now we're gonna talk about and enter the land of the things that companies love to romanticize about, which is employee experience. And this is not free snacks, a beer on Fridays, wellness apps, or a cute onboarding kit. It's every moment that shapes how people perform. It's how you feel on Sunday night thinking about work. High-performing companies don't leave this to chance or randomly throw, a souvenir here and there. They design it intentionally. They actually want to match the culture that they say they have. They don't want to say something, sell something, but when it comes to the real deal, everything else feels completely different. They want to be coherent. On the other side, we have governance and risk management. Yeah, everybody cringed. The least sexy, the most ignored until something, well, by something I mean when shit hits the fan. This is what keeps the company's complaints ethical and out of the news for the wrong reasons. And these two, if ignored, either of them, you'll pay for it, just at different speeds. Governance protects the business. Experience drives performance. If you ignore either of them, not cool, not cool. And if you think that people are with you just for the salary or just for the name of your brand, think twice. Because things are changing and changing really, really rapidly. There must be a cause, there must be a purpose, there must be a reason, there must be empathy, there must be a match to what you say you are as a culture and what you're actually giving as an employee value proposition. Governance and risk management are not negotiable. You have to have those things 100% accurate and covered. If you do not have your fundamentals, which is one of them, governance and risk management, controlled, then it doesn't matter what you do on top of that. Those cheeky little things and happy little stuff means nothing. You mean nothing, because one bad move in governance or risk management, not fulfilling what it should, could potentially mean the reputation of the company as a whole. Okay, so here we are, the final mile, and we're going to talk about the part where HR either earns a seat at the table or stays taking notes and bringing the coffee. Let's talk about HR, or people value storytelling. This is not storytelling for vibes, It's this is the ability to explain people in business terms. If you cannot clearly say how an initiative impacts revenue, cost, or EBITDA, or risk, or P&L, nobody will fund it. Full stop. And honestly, they shouldn't. To this, you add strategic people readiness. And here is the real question, because you should be asking about your company. Are you shaping decisions, or are you reacting to them? There are 4 levels to this game. The first one is executing tasks. Basically, you just operate. Then you have supporting leaders. Then you have advising decisions. And then you have driving outcomes. And to be honest, well, let me tell you an anecdote on this. So hopefully you'll bring it to an easier way to understand it. I was gonna ask for money, and as you know, finance people look at us like the expense, while we look at finance as the stubborn McDuck, rich McDuck, Scrooge, if not. So I wanted let's just put 1 million, whatever currency you would like. And it was for engagement and culture. And I wanted it because my team put it forward, and I think they had a business case. However, I was not so, at that point, I was not so savvy on how to put it forward. Fortunately, while doing this, I had an extremely good relationship with the CFO, and because of it, he coached me on how to present further. So when I was gonna go and ask for 1 million for engagement and culture, obviously the CFO was most likely going to say fuck off. And so after all the coaching I had in the previous company, I thought about it, and I changed the game. So I needed to put it in another perspective. So instead of going and we want to improve engagement, and this is why we want the money, what I did is I started looking at the impact of this investment, because that's what it was, investment, not an expense. Attrition was costing, this is what I was going to present, that attrition was costing 5 million annually. And this initiative, if done correctly, was going to reduce turnover in 20%, that making it save around 1 million. So there you go, it paid off. Now, if you put it that way, or when I put it that way, it was maths. It was not feelings. It was numbers. It was speaking their language. And when you do that, people listen, because it's a business. That's where we are. We're in a business. So we need to learn to talk their language. If we keep on coming to ask for money, for flowers, for Mother's Day, we are still going to be considered a fucking waste of money. We need to show them that if we decide that we want to give flowers, by God knows what reason, there is a return of investment. And we need to put it with numbers. And we need to show them results, not just put them in numbers in a PowerPoint. Then we have the strategic readiness of it, right? Because right now I had the storytelling. I just told them, how we were losing money and how we were going to bring it back. Now, strategic readiness is, I wasn't asking for approval. I was influencing the business decision. So as a result, I managed to get my money. So if you speak business, you get funded. If you speak HR, you're most likely going to get ignored. And I'm not saying, and I'm not minimizing our role and what we do and the impact that we cause. It's just learning to position it in a different manner to not be ignored. So if people can't influence the business direction, it's not strategic. It's operational support with better branding. That's basically what it is. So there you go. 12 terms that sound very strategic until you actually have to fucking use them. And that's the whole point, really. So strategy is not what you say in your PowerPoint presentation, in your annual presentation of strategy for the year. It's what changes how the business performs. And if your people function can't connect these ideas to revenue, to cost, to risk, to EBITDA, to speed, this is not strategy. It's just well-dressed activity with much more pizzazz kind of words to it. Now, the real question is, where are you in your organization? Are you shaping decisions or reacting to them? Remember, there are 4 stages of maturity of people function in the company. Number 1 is people activity, which just executes tasks. Number 2 is people support, where you respond to leaders, you listen to the leaders. Number 3 is people partner, where you advise decisions. And finally, it's people architect, where you design systems that shape the outcome. Most companies are between 2 and 3. And I've had the really horrible experience of seeing one at level 1. But rarely I have seen level 4. I've done it. It's like reaching nirvana, very close to an orgasm. And it's amazing. It's amazing to see how you can actually impact the business as the people area through reason, through understanding, having that business acumen, in the tip of your fingers to be able to give a very educated opinion. And I've always said the story, and I'm very proud of it, that when I've reached that point where I kind of switched places with the CFO, where he wanted to give more, and I was the one defending the budget because it didn't make sense in terms of the whole context, I thought I had reached full enlightenment. And he thought so too. So it is possible. And I hope this helps you. I'll leave you the names. If you are in Spotify and can only listen but not see, I will leave them in the description so you can look at them. You don't have to listen to my rambling again. In YouTube, I had put it on some images, but I still put it in the description, and I will try to do the same in Instagram. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and see you next Thursday. Bye bye. Si te gustó el episodio, compártelo por WhatsApp o al link People con 2 grandes razones, y así lograr que más gente se entere del contenido. Suscríbete en Spotify y activa las notificaciones, o en YouTube dale a la campanita para enterarte de todos los episodios de estreno y dale una calificación de 5 estrellas para que más gente pueda encontrarlo. Sígueme en Instagram, People con 2 grandes razones, y platícame qué temas te gustaría escuchar.